Hi everyone, my name is Vishen Lakiani. I'm the founder of Mindvalley, and I'm so excited to have you here on this masterclass with Keith Ferrazzi on how to deeply connect with people and build a powerful network. So if you stumbled upon this class, and I don't know how you may have discovered this, perhaps it was because you were looking for information on networking. Perhaps you were looking for information on how to deeply connect with people for business or for friendship. Or perhaps you heard about this because you're a Mindvalley fan. Well, you're in for a treat because Keith Ferrazzi is one of the most incredible teachers I've ever encountered in my life. And for 5 years, I've been trying to get him in that chair to share some of his ideas with us. What you're going to learn in this class is how to take this idea of building a network and building deep connections with the people in the network. Connections based not on transactional relationships, but based on trust and vulnerability and authenticity and true giving. You're going to learn how to create this network and use it to get you to places you never dreamed possible. Now, I want you to ask yourself a question. What is the next step you want to be at in your career? Perhaps you work at a company, perhaps you want to start a company. What's that next step in your career that you want to get to? I want to share with you a story that some of you are going to think is unbelievable, but I swear this story is true. Elliot Bisnow learned about the power of networking from Keith Ferrazzi, working for his father's newsletter company. He learned from Keith the power of being connected with people who can help you get to your dreams. And he learned from Keith how to be a giver. He also learned the concept of creating an event to bring people together. So Elliot did this. He reached out to 20 men and women in America that he really wanted to connect with. And he decided that he was going to bring them all together on a fully all-expense-paid ski trip. He put the entire trip on his credit card. Obviously, few people could say no to an all-expense-paid vacation. Now, it did cost Elliot a bomb, but this is what happened next. 20 people showed up. They had such a great time connecting with each other and with Elliot. The very next year, about 100 people came for that trip. And the very next year, it expanded and expanded. It became an event called Summit Series. And now, thousands of people pay thousands of dollars to come together for Summit Series events all around the world. I'm about to fly to one. Using his network, Elliot went further. He would gather thousands of the world's foremost entrepreneurs on a cruise ship, 3,000 to 4,000 people at a time for 5 days, sailing the Caribbean, hundreds of events happening on this cruise ship. World personalities like Bill Clinton, Richard Branson, helicoptering down on the ship to speak to the attendees of Summit Series and being able to connect with Elliot and the founding team. Elliot got labeled one of the most connected millennials in the world, all inspired by Keith's book. He went on to raise $40 million from investors to buy Powder Mountain in Utah and start his own intentional community. Today, people buy homes in Powder Mountain for up to $2 million. And Elliot and his team still run Summit Series events around the world. So if you think networking is just something that you do wearing a suit with a name tag at a business event, you're thinking way too small. This truly can be an accelerator to your wildest dreams. You don't have to start an event. You can apply networking to grow in any area of your life. Keith himself applied it to his life. He went from growing up the son of a steelworker in Pennsylvania. He came from poverty. He went from being a golf caddy to becoming one of the most connected people on the planet. Keith Ferrazzi is a #1 New York Times bestselling author. His first book, Never Eat Alone, went on to become the definitive guide to networking. It is the book cited as the book that opened people's eyes to the powerful aspects of networking and building deep connections with people. And something really remarkable about Keith is that he used these skills in his own career to become the youngest ever CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, of both Deloitte and Starwood Hotels. In fact, he became the youngest Chief Marketing Officer in the Fortune 500. And I want you to pay attention to that, because what you're about to learn doesn't just apply if you're an entrepreneur. If you're working for a company, this can help you truly climb up the ladder and become really powerful and influential at what you do. Now today, Keith Ferrazzi and his company, Ferrazzi Greenlight, coach CEOs of the most powerful organizations in the world, the most respected NGOs, and even presidential candidates. He has truly become a remarkable leader and one of the foremost minds in the world on leadership, on transformation, and it all started with his network.
Just before we start, I want to ask you to do a quick survey. These quick self-assessments are important because they will help you establish a benchmark of where you are now, and you are going to be surprised at just how rapidly your scores improved. I'm going to ask you 8 questions. The first is, how wide is your network? I want you to honestly rate your network from 1 to 5. 1 would be poor, 5 would be excellent. For example, if you have, say, 100 people that you're connected to, deeply connected to, that might be considered excellent, especially if these are incredible, quality people who uplift you, but also help open the doors to multiple opportunities in your life. The second question is, how deeply are you connected to people who matter? See, Keith Ferrazzi shared with me and made me understand that it's not just the number, it's the depth of the connection that truly matters. How authentic, how vulnerable can you be with these people? How close are you? The third question is, how fast are you growing in your career? There is this huge misconception among so many people that growth in your career is about the work you do. It is, but it's also about how you connect with other people in your company. So many people make the mistake of overlooking the power of connection. Keith Ferrazzi became the youngest CMO in the Fortune 500. He became the chief marketing officer of Deloitte at a ridiculously young age because of how he was able to connect with other people in the company. Number 4, are you making the impact you want to make? We all have dreams. We all have a big mission in life. The Mindvalley community is powered by people who want to change the world. How satisfied are you with your path towards this impact? Again, rate yourself from 1 to 5. Next, how good are you at making friends? If you attend a social gathering or attend, say, someone's birthday party, how rapidly can you connect with someone and stay in touch? Rate yourself from 1 to 5. Next, how connected are you to supportive friends? How would you rate yourself in terms of the quality of your friendships with people who support you, whom you support back, and whom you can be really yourself with? Next, how would you rate your leadership ability? Even if you do not lead a team, if you are in a company and you're seen as an authority in some field, maybe it is a certain practice of accounting or number crunching, that can still count as leadership ability when you are using the skill to benefit a larger population. How would you rate your leadership ability? And finally, how would you rate your thought leadership? Thought leadership is basically how people look at you as an expert. In today's world, the higher your thought leadership, the more opportunities are there for you. Every individual is really a brand of one, and the greater your thought leadership, the more opportunities are going to be waiting for you in the world, and the more you're going to be safeguarded against disruption in an unpredictable world. So these scores are just for you to keep. If you go deeper in this program, what you're going to see are these scores are going to start inching up to the level 5, and it's going to make a massive impact on your life. Now, Keith and I are going to give you our best, and in turn, we ask that you give us your best. Take notes, pay attention. There are some advanced topics here that we're going to cover in a really rapid manner. You want to be writing things down, but I cannot wait to see the results you're going to get. The world may be on pause, but relationship building doesn't have to be paused. In fact, in today's unpredictable world, it's more important than ever that you are nurturing the right relationships. So take good notes. Make sure that you shut down Facebook or Instagram or anything else that might be a distraction. Go deep into this masterclass, and you're going to walk away with some powerful key ideas. I want you to imagine if any of your dreams, anything you want in life, you could be traveling on a sales meeting to a different city, and you automatically have a system where you know exactly who to connect with so that you can add value to their life and they can add value to yours. You are deeply connected with influential people all around the world. And the time between your dreams and reality have shrunk massively. This is the future you're about to step into.
Many of you may have done Lifebook by Mindvalley, or you may have any other list of goals somewhere, goals and dreams and aspirations that you someday hope to reach. What you're going to learn in this class is one of the most powerful tools to get there fast. And it's about being able to leverage the right people to move you towards your dreams while you help them elevate towards theirs. So let's give a big round of applause and a big rousing welcome for Keith Ferrazzi. Keith, welcome to Mindvalley. I've dreamed of getting you on the set for so many years, ever since I saw you at Summit Series.
Thanks a lot, Vish. I'm really excited about what we're about to do here.
So I want to go back to your story because you came from really simple beginnings. How did you learn this craft?
You know, that's a great reflective question for me. I reflect back to being a young man in southwestern Pennsylvania, the rural areas. We lived out in the country. My dad was in the steel industry, and back in the 70s, the steel industry was crushing down around us. My dad was often unemployed. He had to work second jobs as a ditch digger, a construction worker. It was whatever he could do to make ends meet for our family. My mother did not want to do what she had to do. She had to go become a cleaning lady. And as a result, she brought $20 home every day for being a cleaning lady. I had to go to work, Vishen. At 11 years old, I had to go to work. And at the local country club, you could get a job carrying golf clubs for rich golfers. And that was called a caddy. Now, as I sat there and as I caddied for wealthy people, I watched and I saw what happened. I saw those individuals help each other do business deals. I saw them conduct business and sell things to each other. I saw companies get sold from one company to another. I saw the titans in my local area help each other. I saw them get their kids jobs. And at first I was jealous. I was angry even. You know, it's like, why couldn't I have been born into the kind of family that would have provided those kind of opportunities for me, right? But instead I awoke and I realized something. What I realized was the presence of me on that golf course gave me access to the same people who were helping other people's children. Why couldn't they help me? What would it be that would allow them to pay attention to this kid on the golf course? And the reality is that it was the relationship. Why are they doing it? They're doing it because they care. But what if these individuals cared about me? Now that is really the opening awakening for me. I had to realize that if I deepened the relationship that I had with these individuals, instead of hiding from them.
And how did you do that as a teenager?
Well, you know, it started, interestingly enough, with just recognizing that that was important. I didn't think I was worthy because I was poor of developing those relationships. The turning point for me was a woman by the name of Mrs. Poland. Mrs. Poland was the best female golfer in the golf club, in the country club. And one day she pulled my name out of the hat and I became her caddy. Now it's interesting. My dad used to say to me, Keith, show up early at the golf course. Now, I didn't know what that meant because for God's sakes, Dad, nobody's at the golf course early. Why would I show up early? So I showed up early because he was driving me there. So I showed up early at the golf course and I'm walking around and I'm bored. And look, my father probably just meant show up early at the golf course because you just need to get a leg up on people. You need to work that extra mile for someone. But the reality was I saw where pins on the golf course were placed, which gave me better information for my golfers. I saw how the greens were cut early in the morning, which allowed me to do things like read putts better than other caddies. And as a result, Mrs. Poland noticed that. I think she also noticed the fact that I really had ambition and drive, and I was afraid of losing that job. If I lost that job, that $20 that I was going to make that day was the same amount of money my mother was making cleaning houses. So that was important, and I really worked hard. So one day, Mrs. Poland I think just felt endeared to me, asked me the question, what do you want to do with your life, Keith? Now, I tried to avoid answering that question because I just wanted to keep my head down and do a good job. And she pushed me. Keith, what do you want to do with your life? Well, ultimately, she squeezed out of me some of the hopes, the dreams, and the aspirations that I had. And oddly enough, within a few weeks, she started introducing me to other people in the club. She started inviting people who were members of the club that had similar interests to what I wanted to do in my life to play golf with her so that they would meet me.
Wow.
Right? And those relationships started opening up right in front of me. And then the light went off. It wasn't about being born in to those families. It was about having access in a relationship. Now, in this case, Mrs. Poland was pulling me out of my shell. Here's the big awakening. Why did she do that, Vishen? You could sit back and think that she did that because I was a good kid. Maybe I was charismatic. The reality is none of those things. The reality, Vishen, is that she did that because I took 2 strokes off of her golf score. What I mean by that is, in this day and age, when everybody's too busy, my showing up at the golf course a half an hour early gave me better information. My being ambitious and driven and afraid of losing that job for the sake of my family made me show up and hump my butt down that caddy yard and out into the golf course with more enthusiasm than most people. As a result, I showed up with a better product than other people, and I was generous to her in the way that she wanted me to be generous to her. That was the key. If you want to have and be on someone's radar screen, if you want somebody to open up to you, you've got to lead with generosity. You've got to lead with service. And that generosity and service has got to be greater than other people's, which means you've got to work your butt off to make sure that you're showing up at the golf course a half of an hour early for all of the critical people that you need to work with to achieve what you're trying to achieve.
So at this point, I want you guys to answer really quickly the following question. The first question is, where in your life would better relationships help you succeed? Is it in your career? Is it in your artistic or creative pursuit? Is it within your company? At what aspect of your life do you think being able to connect more deeply with people will help you attain your goals with greater ease? Write that down. The second question is this: what's holding you back? What are you perhaps afraid of? What do you feel nervous about? What do you feel you don't yet know how to do to create these relationships? Write that down. So as we go deeper into this masterclass, we're going to address both of these questions. You're going to learn how to create deep, meaningful connections so that you can move better towards your goals because of the people you know. And we're going to help you overcome some of the fears that might be holding you back. And I don't know what brought you here, but I'm guessing you may have learned about this and you may have shown up here because you're looking for a masterclass or some sort of course on networking. But we're going to be going way beyond networking, aren't we? Tell us, Keith, what's the difference between traditional networking and what you actually teach?
Well, first of all, when Never Eat Alone came out, I had a big argument with my publisher. To what degree were we going to position the word networking in the book? And they wanted to make sure that it was slapped on 100% everywhere in the book. And rightfully so, because I think all of us feel that we should be spending more time networking, but we don't spend enough time doing it, or we're not good at networking, but we need to be, and we have assumptions associated with that, right? So my publisher wanted to sell books, and they wanted to make sure that networking was in the title. But what I had learned was that what people thought was networking, walking around with a name tag on at a networking event, passing out business cards, right? It's smarmy, it's insincere, it's not authentic. And I knew that that wasn't me, and that's not what allowed me to achieve the extraordinary success that I was able to achieve at a very young age. So I broke it down. What did it really take to do that? And to me, the working title of the book was You Can't Get There Alone. You can't get there alone. You needed to learn how to work with and through, and sometimes around, right? Difficult people, but work with and through individuals to achieve all the things we want to achieve.
There's this great line from this movie called Almost Famous. Philip Seymour Hoffman, he's playing a character, and he says this line: the only currency that matters in a messed up world is when we can be real and vulnerable and uncool with our friends. And I just love that line, and I noticed that that's what you do so well. And I've noticed you do that with me. Now, why is that so important in the world today?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of clutter in the world today. The social media clutter is extraordinary. Competition is heating up for all of us. Now, in one regard, there's a lot of opportunity because you no longer have to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth to gain access to opportunities. You can create them for yourself. But you're also competing against an entire world full of content and individuals, et cetera, for building your brand and establishing yourself in the world. So one of the things that is a truism is that where you want to go next, there are going to be individuals who are critical to helping you get there. It could be the person who's going to give you that next job. It could be the individual who's going to buy your product. It could be the channel partner that you need to work with that goes from you selling your services into a small audience to you being able to sell your services through another partner into thousands and millions of individuals. All of these things, if you really think about it, boil down to people.
In your book, you said the age of lifelong employeeship is over. Companies are not going to take care of us forever and ever and ever. Every individual is essentially a personal brand of one. And it's not your experience or hard work or resume that's really going to count at the end of the day if you lose your job or if something unfortunate happens. It is who you know and the power of your personal network.
Let me reflect a little bit on a few characters that I'm thinking about right now. I think of wonderful artists who have extraordinary talent, and that talent sits in their damn studios. It never finds its way into the commercial marketplace. If you think about Andy Warhol is an individual who understood both a unique sense of art, but he also understood the network and how to build that network, right? He created his clientele. I think about coaches who have extraordinary passion for wanting to change humanity and people around them, but their clientele isn't sufficient, right? And then I think of individuals, and I see these individuals all the time inside of corporations, sitting at their computers, banging away, saying, well, the boss just promoted her because she likes him better. And I'm like, no kidding. Of course, 2 arms, 2 legs, an MBA, and an equal competency to another individual is not going to get you there.
Right.
She likes him better is actually a phrase that means like we have shared and goals and alignment. This person has my back. I can trust this person. This person has my strategic interests at heart, right? There's so much bundled into that. And it's just so under-recognized by people who aren't utilizing all of the assets that they have available, which is the people around them. If you're not your own marketer, if you're not out there selling yourself, don't expect anybody else to do it. And I don't believe that your work is going to sell itself by itself, right? So make sure that you are effectively selling your work. If you're not good at it, that's why we're here. That's this masterclass, right? So we're here with the intention of helping people become more effective at selling themselves and building those relationships.
And it's funny, right? Because if you look at what we learn in school, our education system is so obsessed with what we know, but they hardly pay any attention to who we know. But what you say is that who we know is far more important than what we know.
It is very important that you're competent and you show up and are able to perform and you have sufficiency at whatever it is, the skill set that you're trying to achieve. But we spend so much time fantasizing and wanting to know where we're going to go in life. And even thinking about, if ideally we do so, putting down plans to figure out how we're going to get there. But one of the greatest wormholes, accelerants to getting from here to there is people. Everything we want to achieve, every one of our hopes, our dreams, our aspirations, the possibilities, the opportunities, every one of them have people linked to them. And we don't spend enough time being meticulous, really thinking about how to orchestrate and manage the people and the relationships in our life. And then we trip ourselves up because we don't think we're people. We think we're introverts. We don't think we have time. There's all of these areas, right? We need to be able to break those all down and one by one, which is I'm excited to do in this master class with you, one by one address and give people some support on how they can address some of their wrong-headedness that I think might be limiting their success.
Before we continue, let me do a quick summary of the insights. There were 3 things Keith just covered. The first is you can't get there alone. The world is so much more complex today that you need the right people to move you towards your dreams. Number 2, every individual is a personal brand of one. In today's world, when so many people are being laid off, when there's so much disruption, the most important asset you can have in your career is your personal brand. And third, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Most people completely underestimate this. They think career progression is about what you know, but more often than not, it's about who you know. As we continue in this class, we're also going to unwrap some advanced topics. Stay tuned because by the end of this class, you will also learn the following: the 3 pillars of networking and the RAP or RAP. This idea of the RAP or Relationship Action Plan is powerful. It's made a profound impact in my life, and what you're going to learn is how to bring this to your life. Next, you're going to learn how to move from getting to giving. Networking is not about extracting from someone. It's about adding to their life. And you're going to learn a powerful concept called the currency wheel. The currency wheel is a game changer. And once you learn the currency wheel, this can unlock so many doors for you. I know a friend who, using the concept of the currency wheel, just closed $1 million investment in his startup. As we go deeper, you learn how to use the currency wheel to deeply connect with people whom you might not otherwise be able to connect with. Third, you're going to learn the power of vulnerability. Even if you're an introvert or shy, as I am, you can learn how to connect deeply with people using some of the strategies that Keith has created. Stay tuned. All of this is coming up.
So Keith, when it comes to networking, what are some of the biggest myths that prevent people from approaching this?
I think one of the biggest issues people think is, well, I'm just not a people person. I'm an introvert. That's not me. So let's talk a little bit about that. Maybe break it down. I'm actually an introvert. I've just learned over time that if I don't deepen those relationships, if I don't become better at these skills, my life mission won't be achieved at the level that I'm hopeful that it will be achieved. All the work my parents did growing up to bust their butt and get me a good education will be spoiled.
Right.
So it's my obligation to push through because I really don't have a choice. Now, the reason I think a lot of people don't want to embrace networking is they think it's insincere. They think it's smarmy. They think it's about being charismatic and passing out business card and slapping people on the back, and it's really not. It's about showing up and being able to have real conversations and develop a connection in an accelerated fashion, right? Think about it sometimes. That person who's a smarmy salesperson, that person may actually be distancing themselves from you because you don't trust them. Your desire is to generate a space around yourself that invites people in to have a better relationship with you.
Now, for an introvert, you seem to be doing really well because you're here in my home city. We're in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, as we film this. And yesterday, you had lunch with one of the biggest entrepreneurs in the country, a billionaire. And then you had dinner with another billionaire. I've been here for 15 years. I've never had lunch and dinner with billionaires on the same day, but you're able to connect so deeply with such incredibly powerful people. That's what I truly admire about you. I've never seen anyone who's able to create that level of vulnerability and trust with people everywhere. know there are 3 powerful ideas you're going to cover and 3 practices that come with these ideas. Let's start with that first pillar.
Sure. The first pillar is making sure that you start asking the most important question, which is who. So moving from what to who.
Okay, I want you guys to write this down. Pillar number 1 is going from what to who.
And what I want you to think about is, what are the goals you're trying to achieve? What are the dreams you're trying to achieve? Where do you want to go? That's fine. But in the next column, next to those dreams, aspirations, and there can be multiple of them. You can have multiple dreams, multiple goals, multiple aspirations. But for the sake of this conversation that we're having in this masterclass, let's pick something. Right next to it, you want to start writing down the names of the most important individuals to achieve that. I don't want to go into too deep on how you manage that as it gets bigger and at scale, but for just right now, the most important thing you have to recognize is that there are people associated with goals. This is a big awakening, because a lot of us go from general ideas and strategy of where we want to go to very distinct plans, but we haven't really sat back and said, who? And really thought about that intently, right? So that's the most important pillar, number 1.
What are you going to do with it from there?
Okay, so then you begin to work what's called a relationship action plan. You have a name of an individual that's important. Mm-hmm. So once you have the name, you need to begin to develop very distinct outreach strategies for that individual. Now, if that individual is somebody that you know well, it's easier to reach out to that individual. If that individual is somebody you've never met before, it's less easy. And if that individual is higher up in the food chain, it becomes even more difficult. So there are distinct strategies in reaching out to individuals, but just for the sake of this, let's talk about somebody that we have as an acquaintance today. And we want to move to having a deeper relationship with, who we may not know as deeply as we should, right? So the relationship action plan breaks up as follows. Focus, get very distinct on your goals. Target, identify the individuals that are aligned to those goals. Define what it is you can do for them that would make them want to have a relationship with you. Focus, target, define, outreach. Outreach is where you actually create a distinct strategy for reaching out to a person. With what frequency are you reaching out? How are you going to reach out? When you do reach out, how do you think about the conversations you're going to have, etc.? So it's reaching out to the individual. And then the last issue is consistently renew. Because as your goals change, as you develop the relationships, you want to consistently go back and re-look at and re-engineer, in a sense, that relationship action plan. The reality is we kind of do have relationship action plans today. I don't know how many people send holiday cards of some sort, but a holiday card is the beginning of a relationship action plan. It's the individuals you sit back with your family and you think about, who are the people I love, who are the people are my friends, who are the people I may have in my business that I might want to send some form of a greeting to once a year. And so that is an innocuous way of putting a relationship action plan together.
I remember reading a book called World's Greatest Salesman by a guy called Joe Girard. And Joe Girard, back in his day, had sold more cars than any other car salesman in America. And in the book, World's Greatest Salesman, he shares his secret. And it is he always remembered birthdays, anniversaries, and sent out cards to every single person he'd ever sold a car to. And it sounds so simple, but he ended up selling more cards than anyone in America.
Right. And that's because he had a relationship action plan.
Right.
And to me, the outreach component of the relationship action plan can be done in so many different ways. You can have parties, you can have meetings, you can have phone calls, you can use social media. All of those are various forms of outreach, many of which have different levels of connectivity and intimacy associated with them. So for instance, if I just push a card out on a holiday once a year, that's one degree of intimacy. If I call you on your birthday, that's another degree of intimacy, right? So that outreach strategy, which is reactive to something in your life, or if I put up a Google alert with your name in it, and then when there's an article in the Wall Street Journal that you've been quoted in, and I call you and I say, Vishen, I love that article in the Wall Street Journal, congratulations, that's even another level, right, of connectivity. How much that individual matters to your dreams and goals. And again, I'm not defining your dreams and goals. Your dreams and goals, your focus can be nothing but social. It could be all about relationships and family. If that's the reason you're listening to this, because you want to be better at developing authentic relationships in your life for joy, then that's your focus. The target are the people that you would like to love more, spend more time with, develop authentic relationships with, right? Defining what you can do for them, most likely in that case, it's going to be about showing them your love, showing them your support, making sure you know they're there, right? The outreach is going to be things like inviting them to your home for dinner, going out with them for dinner, sending them the cards, sending a happy birthday message, etc., right? And now the renew is important as well, because what happens if along the way you meet somebody new and you really connect with them at somebody else's dinner party? How often have we had that relationship and it was an amazing night, and then maybe a year later you bump into them and you ask yourself, why didn't I stay in touch with that person?
Right.
It's because you didn't have a relationship action plan. At the end of that dinner, you should have gone home and written that name down on a piece of paper and made sure that that individual, put them into your system, your spreadsheet, your to-do list, whatever it happens to be, because that person now is worthy of being put into the relationship action plan. You got to see the awakening here is the systemization of things that you used to be haphazard about, right?
And how many people do you have in your network?
In my network? Well, see, I'm not going to answer that question for a reason. People, in fact, that's a lovely question to ask because it's exactly the question that most people think networking is all about. How many people do you have in your network? And it doesn't matter. What are your dreams? Are you working deeply with a group of individuals to help achieve your dreams? And are you helping them achieve their dreams? And if that's true, you can have 100 people in your network, or you can have 1,000 people in your network.
I love that. I love that you made that distinction. Now, Keith, you mentioned the relationship action plan, right? And you mentioned focus, target, define, outreach, renew. Right. I love that. What are some of the best case examples you've seen of anyone doing this?
Wow. I have seen individuals come up to me in airports and say, Keith, I was a real estate agent in Phoenix, and now I own one of the largest real estate companies in the entire Southwest. And it's all because I put the relationship action plan to work for my business, right? And I'm like, well, wonderful. Do I get 10%, right? Having read Never Eat Alone has changed so many people's lives. And it's sad to me when I realize that there are so many people out there struggling today. So all of this is around that first pillar of the relationship action plan. Maybe we can move on a bit to the second pillar, which is a lot of people are questioning, well, what do I have to offer? What would I possibly have to offer somebody that showed up in my network?
And the second pillar is called From Getting to Giving. Networking is about generosity, not getting, and vulnerability.
Yeah. So it's so important. I think the stigma associated with a network is that it's for people who are using people or trying to get things out of people. And first of all, let's pause. Authentically speaking, when you reach out to somebody, you've targeted an individual and you've said, I would like to build a relationship with this person. Don't be ashamed of that. And don't think that that's something you need to hide. There are lots of people who have reached out to me and said, Keith, I authentically would love to build a relationship with you. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But now the question is, what are they going to offer? And that's important because imagine how many direct messages I get in social media. Right? How many do you get? I mean, it's probably unfathomable. And how many people actually get a chance to make an impact or an imprint on you in your mind? They've got to compete against all the other direct messages. So the one act of generosity you could reach out to is just authentic admiration. So in one level, you reach out to somebody and say, I authentically admire who you are. I've been following your work. And in fact, your work has been so inspiring to me. Here are some of the things that I've done in my life. I mentioned to you that there are people that come up to me and explain to me some of the things that my book has allowed them to do. Those are the people that I remember. Right? So they've touched my heart in some way because they've told me that I've made an impact on them. That's a small act of generosity. Right? Another act of generosity is really, as I mentioned earlier, doing your homework, really understanding what it is that a person needs or wants in their life. And a lot of people feel that as people get higher up in their life, they don't need anything. That's absolutely not true. You know, I've invented a way to categorize all the things that people need in their life into something that I call the currency wheel. Currency is what you have to offer somebody, right? The currency wheel represents, in a sense, like a pie chart of all the things that you might be able to offer somebody. And so the way you've got to act about this is ask yourself, what might this person want that I could help fulfill in some way? To that end, what are the things that anybody wants or matters? So we all care about professional success. So we all care about our business if we're in business. So if you're approaching somebody, ask yourself, how can you advance their business? Can you do research on something they're interested in because you've got more time than they do? Can you introduce them to somebody that they might want to know? Can you, like I can't even imagine, depending upon all the various areas. I'll give you a simple, for instance. There's a thing called a financial advisor, which is somebody who manages money.
Right.
My financial advisor, I woke up one day and realized, wait a second, my financial advisor has never once introduced me to a potential client. Never once introduced me to a potential client. How many people do you think my financial advisors, whose money they manage, for Aussie Greenlight, might be able to do business with their company? But never once have they made that introduction. So that's a missed opportunity of you being able to introduce your clients and the people that you know to other individuals and advantage their professional well-being, right? Another area is deep relationships. All of us care about our children. All of us care about real intimacy and connection. But if somebody came up to me and said, you know, Keith, I've heard you talk a lot about your boys, your foster children. And I know that both of your boys sometimes struggle. Well, you know, I know some people in Los Angeles that I think your boys might really connect with. Perhaps I know some people in Los Angeles, but based on the fact that I've read and followed you on Instagram, and I know that one of your sons is really interested in horses. Well, I know some people in Los Angeles that are really interested in horses. So if somebody really did the work and understood, what do I really care about? I care about my intimate relationships. So all of us have to recognize, no matter what position you are in your life, in the world, that if you lead with generosity and you lead with busting your back end to think about how to be of service, then you have a chance, a sliver of an opportunity to gain that person's attention.
So Keith, one of the things I remember you teaching is that you are not supposed to keep score.
Yeah.
It's not about saying, okay, I'm going to do this person a favor because he did me that favor. You're not supposed to keep score. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people have the belief that if I have a relationship, it's a precious thing and that I shouldn't share it with anybody else because it's a resource that if I exercise it, if I lean on it, it'll become depleted. There's a great example in the book, Never Eat Alone, of when I first moved out to Los Angeles. Now here I was an accomplished individual, right? I was a smart kid that had gone to Yale and Harvard Business School. I had been the chief marketing officer of Deloitte. I'd been the chief marketing officer of Starwood Hotels. And here I am in Los Angeles, now an entrepreneur, cutting my teeth out here. And I had asked somebody who was introduced by a mutual friend whether or not they would make an introduction to a particular person that they knew at one of the studios. And I know that they know that person very, very well. They're good friends, right? Now, the person's first reaction was very blatant. And that person said, no, I'm sorry, because someday I might need that relationship for myself. Now, that's a belief that a relationship is like a piece of pie. And that if you use some piece of that, you have one less piece of pie, and you've got to miserlily, hold that like Ebenezer Scrooge, pinching onto a penny. And the reality is that it's not true. That relationships are like muscles. The more that you exercise them, the bigger they get. What I find in my life is that as I introduce two people, last night I couldn't have been more excited than to introduce you to one of those billionaires, because I thought that was one of the most extraordinary win-win opportunities for the two of you and me. Every time the two of you meet from here on in, I will be present in that relationship.
So
And
when it
thank you for
comes
that.
to moving from getting to giving, what you're really saying is don't keep score, give as much as you can.
Yeah.
And that we shouldn't be viewing relationships as transactional.
Shouldn't view them as transactional, and we shouldn't view them as limited, right? They're expansive and they're expandable.
So let's continue on the currency wheel.
Sure. These are the things that I believe most people care about. They care about giving back. So no matter who you are, at some level, you have causes that you're interested in. You want to give back to society. And frankly, the higher up people get, the more they want to give back. So asking yourself, how does this person want to give back, and how could I serve in which ways they want to give back? Second thing is their relationships, their critical relationships that we talked about, their spousal relationships, having love in their life, family, children. They care about all of those things. So how can I be of service to this person in the most important relationships of their life? Professional growth. How can I help this person with their career or their business? Money. And money is distinct because you could put this person into deals and opportunity. How do I help advance this person's financial benefit? And health and wellness. Early on, it's very funny. Early on when I adopted this strategy of building currency so that I could have it to give to people, I would start investing in building that kind of currency.
So give us an example. What is that type of currency?
Yeah, so what I did was I identified what I thought were the key areas that my friends, family, clients, prospects, etc., would bump into as health problems. And one of which was cardiac disease. It's what killed my father. Mm-hmm. And so I was living in New York at the time, and I did some research, and I found out that there was a doctor in New York that was one of the greatest cardiac surgeons. And he actually pioneered open heart surgery and a number of the other things in cardiac surgery. Well, I happened to be going to a conference, and I recognized that he was going to be there. And I had nothing to sell this individual, and I didn't know what he would be like, but I knew that he was a powerful individual in the area of health and wellness. So I looked him up, and I ended up finding that I was going to be at a dinner with him. Well, he and his wife were there. And that individual is Mehmet and Lisa. Mehmet Oz and Lisa, Dr.
Wow.
Oz.
Right.
And at the time, he was a cardiac surgeon. But I got to know Mehmet because anytime anybody who had cardiac disease, I could call Mehmet and say, hey, Mehmet, my client, my prospect, my friend has this particular problem. Would you mind chatting with this individual? And to this very day, Mehmet is so generous with his health and knowledge that he has as Dr. Oz.
How did you build that tie with Dr. Oz?
I literally, at that time, I
you?
happened to notice that I was going to be at a conference, and I happened to notice that here was this heart surgeon who was going to be at this conference, and I used the opportunity of being at dinner with him to just connect organically and naturally.
So then what you mean by the currency wheel is to have the currency that you can use to support other people.
Exactly.
So in other words, your currency was your connection to great medical advice.
Exactly.
That is brilliant.
If once you understand that, if you remember the RAP, the Relationship Action Plan, focus, target, define. If once you understand that you need to define your currency for somebody, then you're going to spend time thinking about what currency you have.
Right.
You're going to curate that currency. You're going to build up that currency, and you're going to be quick to give it out.
Amazing. I love that idea. So an assignment for you guys. Think really carefully. What is a form of currency that you can use to give without keeping score to the people you want to connect with? Going to give you a minute to write that down. So Keith, now that we've got a relationship action plan and we've defined our currency, let's talk about what is that secret ingredient? How do you really connect with people?
Yeah. Well, if I really were to summarize the secret ingredient, I think we're probably far enough into this masterclass that I won't scare people away. I would say the word is vulnerability. But let me not go too deeply there. Let me start with something clear. Connecting with somebody is a two-way street. You don't show up and push a bunch of yourself onto somebody, brag, elevate yourself, tell people what you want, etc., of course, right? You've got to show up and be deeply curious. Your desire is actually to extract something from an individual. But in order to extract, you can't also just interrogate somebody. I can't show up to you and just say, tell me about yourself, right? There's no permission. You've got to lay the groundwork, the comfort. It's the psychological safety. You've got to invite people in to want to share with you. Therefore, you've got to share with them. So it's really all about authenticity, that deep connection. When I show up with somebody, in advance of having shown up to meet somebody, or when I'm writing a letter, or if I'm about to get on a phone call, I kind of psych myself up into knowing that I'm going to like this person at the end of the call. You know, I think that the way you show up, if you show up intimidated, fearful, or even prejudiced, if you think that this person is going to be full of themselves based on their resume or something, or you see them in the media, whatever it happens to be, then you're going to show up and it's going to be preordained. I always psych myself in to being positively inclined. I almost close my eyes and think, what's it going to be like when we end this call, wanting the next call, right? I gravitate in that direction. But I want to crack the ice a bit, and I want to make sure that this person knows that I'm a safe person to connect with, and this is going to be a real dialogue. So for instance, instead of just talking about small talk, I try to go into deep talk as quickly as possible. It could be a phone call. I could be talking to somebody and saying, maybe they're in London, So I'm sure that London is another bright sunny day like always. This past weekend, I had amazing weather in Los Angeles, but it was great because I really had a chance to go out with my boys, which I don't get enough time to do because I travel so much and it's really, sometimes quite difficult. So, you've moved from this idea of small talk into opening a path to say, what's going on with family? What did you do this past weekend? Might be the next question that I would ask, right? You're looking for ways to lead the way in opening yourself up to exploring something about your life with this individual and them exploring it with you. Family is a great opportunity. Career is great, but not the kind of career that is transactional. It's not about jumping into a conversation about what you're going to sell somebody or what you want to do for them in a transactional way. It's really more the kind of career of, you want to know where this person wants to go. Because here's the thing. If you know where this person wants to go, then you can start asking your question, how can I help get them there? Now, you might not have the opportunity to get them there by providing some new job or opportunity, but you might have the opportunity of getting them there by virtue of working for them and busting your butt and helping them meet their dreams. That they could all of a sudden see this dialogue with you as the ticket to them achieving their dreams, their career dreams in this case. So if I keep going through all the things that I think about when I'm navigating a dialogue with somebody, I think about family. I think about career and aspirations. And then, I do go to dreams because dreams are one level above that, right? I want to know what somebody dreams of. And their dream might be personal or professional. It might be philanthropic. It might also be some passion. A lot of times people walk into a meeting with somebody and they look around and they look for something that might make them feel like we have something in common. Oh, you play golf and I play golf and that's so tedious. It's so small talky. I would rather you show up and find a way to share something you're really passionate about, authentically passionate about, and then ask somebody what they're passionate about, right? That opens a very deep and a very different kind of connection. I've mentioned that I have foster children. I found out recently there are 150 million orphans on the street in this world dying before the age of 10. That's unfathomable to me in a mature society in any country that you would allow that to occur to these precious souls that are all around the world. So my foundation in the United States is predominantly focused on foster care and internationally focused on orphans and children in some way. And that is my passion. I recently started an X Prize for trying to figure out how do we crack the code of saving these 150 million kids. I've raised money for this. If I bring this subject up, people will know that I'm deeply passionate about it. And then I would pause and I would say, Vishen, you tell me, what are you passionate about? Now I know I've done my research, by the way, and I know your concern and care for refugees and the work that the Mindvalley Foundation is doing. And so my ability to open up passion, and then I'd try to understand, why do you care about that? Why does it matter to you? Right? And so that level of connection that we have through passion, it didn't mean that we have the same passion, right? It means that we're sharing our passion, and through that we connect. Now, all of this is very positive, but if you really want to connect, and I mentioned the V word earlier, the vulnerability, you're going to connect through authentic struggles, right? What's really going on in your life? And it could be past struggles. I've already connected to some extent with your audience by talking a little bit about growing up poor. And that's a past struggle that I've overcome.
Keith, you are so real and authentic and vulnerable. I've had dinner with you, I've seen you on stage, and you just open your heart. But my question is, how and when do we do that? If I'm having dinner with a billionaire or someone that I deeply want to connect with, how do I just open up?
I use an analogy that I think people think that they're afraid that they're going to fall off the cliff. They're going to go too far, too fast. And look, our natural pre-designed psychology is that we think vulnerability is weak. We think that vulnerability and showing fear is people will use it against us, or people will judge us narrowly because of it. And the reality is that's just not true. The reality is that it bonds us to people. There's so much great research that Brene Brown and others have done in this area of vulnerability. And once you've established that you want to lead with generosity, and you follow with curiosity and the courage of asking authentic questions around the positive stuff, the families, the passions, etc., right? Then you move into some of the vulnerable pieces.
I think I see what you're doing now. You're establishing that you're there with a generous purpose. You are showing curiosity by asking them questions about themselves, and that's when you go into the vulnerability.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you to share some of the stories that you have of this particular practice.
Yeah.
Vulnerability as a form of courage when applied. Now,
why is the Dalai Lama so globally famous? Of course, he is a spiritual figure. He has an amazing ability to connect with individuals, right? I don't know who the very first person was to the gateway to Hollywood, but Dalai Lama's relationship with people like Richard Gere and others catapulted the Dalai Lama into a whole different trajectory. He is the leader of a small religion in a small part of the world, right? And yet his brand is so extraordinary. And when you show up, he's so happy and joyful. And of course, the spiritual dimension of it is, he's got God at his back, so that's fantastic, right? But the reality is that this individual versus others, and I sat yesterday with the leader of a member of a part of the Buddhist faith doing incredible work here in this part of the world that I hadn't been aware of, right? And this woman, this nun's work is equally as extraordinary, but relatively unknown because they hadn't built that network, right? So you look at other individuals. I mean, I even think about institutional transformation. There's a very large automotive company that we were blessed with being a part of their transformation. It's General Motors. And I reflect about a particular individual who I have such deep respect for. He's one of the top leaders of the organization today. His name is Mark. And right out of bankruptcy, Mark was the leader of the North American operations of this big company. And he stood in front of the top 2,000 leaders of General Motors. He looked them in the eye and he said, I'm afraid that because one of the most important areas to turn around this organization is going to be the transformation of the sales transformation of the customer experience. And he said, I'm an engineer. What if I can't connect to you as leaders of the sales organization? Now, he said that in front of the sales leadership. Now, at a traditional General Motors, at a traditional large industrial organization, the hierarchy, the control, the authority would have never allowed that kind of vulnerability to be present. But that vulnerability was repeated for 2 years as individuals out in the field did extraordinary things to put that organization back on the right track because he opened that pathway. And by the way, that was exactly the pathway that they needed to open to their customer base, that they needed to open to their dealership community, and his vulnerability opened and led that way. And I wrote about that in Harvard Business Review in an article, because it's so important that we all have the courage to be vulnerable.
Amazing. Thank you, Keith. I learned so much from that. I want to do a quick recap for all of you who have been paying attention and hopefully taking a ton of notes. The first is move from what to who. Understand the concept of the relationship action plan. Be very deliberate about who you want to connect with, how you want to connect with them, do the research, do the homework, and have a plan that you can act on. Number two, this is really important, move from getting to giving. Get rid of that awful idea that relationships are transactional. Do not keep score and do your best to be a giver. And a tool that you can bring into play here is knowing the currency wheel, knowing what is it that you have access to that you can freely give to other people to help them get to their goals. The third is vulnerability. Come in with the mindset that you want to give. Be curious, ask questions, and be vulnerable. Vulnerability is that magic glue that makes a relationship stick.
Now, I hope you enjoyed this class, but I want you to know that there are many advanced techniques that we didn't get a chance to cover today. These are some of the advanced techniques that are in Keith's new program with Mindvalley. For example, one of the ideas that I'm most fascinated by is Keith's concept of training people to truly understand their MTP. Your MTP is your massive transformative purpose. Think of it as the biggest goal on your goal list. And you learn how to find the right people to help you move towards this biggest goal. And this typically is a goal that will impact the well-being and improve the lives of countless others. The second thing is the Ford technique. I've seen Keith demonstrate this at dinner parties. The Ford technique allows you to create instant intimacy, deeper conversations with anyone. You could be in a date. You could be at a networking event. You could be having dinner. But instant intimacy is powerful. Next, you learn how to craft your personal brand. In today's world, everyone needs to have a brand of one. If you have a solid brand on Instagram, on LinkedIn, you're more likely to get the right client, to get the right opportunities. And in a world where the economy can be so unpredictable, your brand is the one thing you can rely on. There are 5 steps to building your brand. These are covered in the advanced program. Finally, you learn a concept called the feedback cycle. So many of us are afraid of feedback, but what if you can use the closest people around you to rapidly help you grow as an individual? And another technique that I really love is the concept of creating a learning network. How can you create a set of people who can help you with hard and soft skills? People who can be mentors, allies, learning buddies. And finally, you learn how to put your relationship action plan around. What this means is how to execute it with perfection so that you become a master of networking. Now, if these and other advanced networking ideas resonate with you, if you like to be the most well-connected person you know, I encourage you to sign up for Mastering Authentic Networking. This is a 3-week program by Keith Ferrazzi on how to become a master networker and transform your career and life with the power of authentic relationships. So Mastering Authentic Networking is available in Mindvalley now. If you scroll down below, you will be able to read all about the program. And here's what you will learn, because this program is a life changer. I know, because Keith's ideas have transformed my life. They've added millions to my company goals. They have helped me start new businesses, and they've even helped me become a best-selling author. It all started with networking. So these are 8 things. Now I want you to look back at the self-assessment you did at the beginning of this masterclass. These were the 8 things you rated yourself on. This is how this program causes you to shoot for a 5 out of 5 for mastery in each of these areas. First, you learn to supercharge your network. What this means is that you have access to a beautifully curated network of truly extraordinary people. And we get so many letters about this. So many people who never thought this was possible, like Maika Boonstra here from Austria said that she learned how to create deliberate networks so easily in just a few days going into Keith's program. The next thing you learn is how to connect with the people who truly matter, people who are going to make you a better version of yourself. You've heard that old Jim Rohn quote, you are the sum of the 5 people closest to you. How can you then grow the quality of your 5 closest people? How can you connect deeply with people who truly matter? You learn in this program how to connect with inspiring individuals who you maybe dream about befriending, working with, and how to make them your allies, how to create new collaborations, opportunities, and solutions. And again, since we launched this program, we've received so many beautiful letters from people who have been able to do just that, like Wolfgang here from Serbia or Monica from Sibiu. One of the interesting things about this letter from Monica is that she said, until she looked back and connected the dots, she didn't realize how she was being transformed by this program. She changed her 6-month goals in 1 week because so many new possibilities emerged for her as she connected to higher and higher levels of people. Now, number 3, you learn to elevate your career. This is a big one for many people. Many people underestimate how their career can soar when they learn the power of networking. Again, incredible letters. This one from Ken Gray, the former Chief Innovation Officer at Caterpillar. And this one from Jennifer Collins, who is in a different stage. She's rather looking for a new career. So whether you are a leader in a massive company like Ken, or you're looking to shift your career, this program is for you. Number 4, you learn how to make a bigger impact. This means you are serving your mission. You are changing the world. And I love this letter from Tel Aviv, from Valerie Paramita. She said that the impact that this program made on her business and her personal life was so profound. She highly recommends it. Basically, Valerie learned that she can, through this program, expand her vision of what she's capable of in the world. Next, you learn how to nurture better friendships. And who doesn't want more friends? But you learn this by mastering the art of becoming authentic, vulnerable, and charismatic. When you do this, you have friends everywhere. Imagine being able to show up in any city and having people you can connect with, close friends ready to dine with you, to meet with you, to open doors for you, because you are that connected. Natalia Filipescu sent us this letter from Frankfurt, and she said, I really needed this quest, and what I learned here in 3 weeks got me so many amazing connections and friendships. Next, you learn to never be lonely again. What this means is that you are not only not lonely, but you are uplifted by the right people. Loneliness today is so bad for your health. Studies show that if you are lonely, it is worse for your health than smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. It is worse for your health than obesity. Yet, loneliness is everywhere. Loneliness is up 300%. And 50% of CEOs report being lonely. In fact, the higher up you climb, often the lonelier it gets, unless you truly master the art of authentic networking. So if you are a leader, a manager, an entrepreneur, I've been there. I know that the higher up you climb, the harder it is to connect with the right people. Not anymore once you enroll in this program. Now, number 7, speaking of leadership, you learn to become a better leader. You learn how to inspire others, how to motivate, how to empower. And all of this is covered in this program. Robin Wright is the VP of HR at Kimberly-Clark. He said that Keith's program has just allowed his team to establish itself as a community. John Reed Dodick is the former Chief People Officer at Thomson Reuters. He said it's accelerated his ability to have candid conversations with his team. And David Wennick, president of eBay, said that from Keith, his team has transformed. He can now execute any strategy at hand. And finally, you expand your influence. You gain new abilities to get your ideas out there And what this means is you become a thought leader. People look up to you for your expertise, for the value of your contribution. You never have to worry about a job again. As Mindy Chu, who is a health coach, said, this program transformed her. And it transformed her because she understood just how much she was underestimating the power of truly making deep connections. So whether you are a healer like Mindy or you're an expert in a particular field of marketing, thought leadership is essential in today's world. Now, speaking of thought leaders, you may have heard of this guy, Peter Diamandis. He was voted by Forbes as one of the top 40 greatest leaders in the world. He started private space travel. And I know Peter, and he's one of the greatest networking minds out there. Peter has raised hundreds of millions of dollars to better the planet, to put into environmental technologies, to put into new ways to provide clean water, for example, to people who don't have it. And I wasn't surprised when I saw this letter from Peter that Keith Ferrazzi is someone who has helped Peter break down walls, increase intimacy, and focus the team on measurable deliverables. So if you find these interesting, take that step. Scroll down below, read about the program, and enroll in Mastering Authentic Networking. In 3 weeks, you will start becoming the most connected person you know.
So some of you may be ready to take what you learned in this masterclass, go your way, and try it out. But you'd be dabbling because there's so many nuances that you want to learn from this master. Don't be a dabbler. Dabbling is nice. You will see some results. But what I want to urge you to do, if you truly believe that it is who you know who's going to get you to where you want to be, I want you to truly seek mastery. And this is what this program is designed to do. It's not just about knowing that, oh, I got to be authentic. It's about understanding how to truly master authenticity, understanding how to truly master the currency wheel, understanding how to truly master the art of being able to know who to connect with and how to connect with them deeply. Think about what this can do for your career. We are no longer in an age where you are going to be guaranteed a job for life. Every single person alive today is a brand of one. You have to take care of your own personal brand. And one of the greatest assets of your own personal brand is who you're connected to. This is what you're going to learn in this program. This could be one of the biggest stepping stones you take to become the man or woman you've always wanted to be. So I urge you to go deeper. So if you wanted to bring in Keith to coach your organization, you'd be looking at millions of dollars because some of the world's greatest companies hire this man to radically transform their people and their organization. But what you have access to now through Mindvalley is Keith as your personal coach for 3 weeks. Keith, tell us, what are you going to be taking our class through?
I am really excited to be your coach. Individuals bring to me some of their greatest challenges that they're trying to overcome. An organization in bankruptcy, a company looking to redefine their industry. I would like you to bring your transformational desire, where you want to go, their dreams, their hopes, their aspirations. Bring those to the table, and I've designed this 3 weeks to walk you through activating your network in service of your dreams and goals. I don't believe in teaching and learning as much as I believe in coaching and doing. I want to dive in, and I want to start working during those 3 weeks to work through your relationship action plan. In week 1, we'll be focused on the mindsets. We'll also be focused on some of those limiting beliefs that we need to break down in order to achieve the kind of success. But then in week 2, we're going to go right into the relationship action plan. And every single day, we're going to go much deeper and design the relationship action plan to achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve. In week 3, we're going to put the cherry on top. That's one where we're really going to go into some of these things like connecting with connectors. How do you truly never eat alone? And how do you start hosting extraordinary events like Elliot did and a number of others? So week 3 is the cherry on top. The meat and potatoes is going to be week 2. And week 1 is really going to be focused on busting down those mindsets that aren't working for you. And we need to reboot in order for you to be successful.
And there are a couple of really interesting things about this program. For example, people believe that they are an introvert or that they are afraid of networking, and this is going to hold them back. How do you address that?
Well, the reality is that we all have to approach these relationships with our own authentic style. If, in fact, you are not a people person, if, in fact, you are an introvert, okay, I get it. But let's not use that as a reason not to try. We're going to focus on how you can be you and still utilize the relationship action plan, develop the kind of generosity and currency as you being authentically you, reach out and begin to connect with those individuals. So I don't believe in excuses. One of the things you'll see in my style, and I think I've been fairly tame actually during this class, but I'm a bit of a butt kicker. And I want to make sure that people don't fail themselves. If you're going to show up and you're going to work for 3 weeks with me, you're going to work and it's going to be extraordinary. And we're going to see outcomes and we're going to see results during that 3-week period.
And I love this line from you. Poverty is not the lack of money. It is the lack of relationships. Money follows with relationships.
Amen.
That's a beautiful message for everyone to have. Now, I want you to know this. When you think about the quality and what you get for this program, in your mind, many of you are thinking this is probably going to cost $2 to $3 grand. But what you ought to know is because of economies of scale, because Mindvalley has such a massive audience, we bring these prices down. We create the best programs in the world on the world's leading transformational platform, Mindvalley Quest, but we bring the prices down to a fraction of that. If you scroll down below this video, you will see that you can access this program for an incredible enrollment offer. And we have further brought that price down as a special discount to you, our way of saying thank you for investing the last hour with us. Just do not close this page, keep this page open. So you can enroll here. And the class start date is directly below this video. You see, one of the things that's really important is that we have all our students start together. You start together, you go through the program together, so everyone is on week 1 and week 2 and week 3, and you cross the finishing line together. We found that to be essential for increasing completion rates because students support each other. And so you can choose to go this alone, or you can choose to go through it with the community and have people sharing their case studies, their ideas, their support with you.
I think that's really important because as we begin to develop your network, you have to recognize that you become a host of a tribe, of a community. And I want you to start to learn what that feels like. And I love the way Mindvalley has already established a tribe for individuals learning together. I think that's the only way to learn and to grow. And it actually provides, which has been great for me to develop this course, it provides an instant feedback loop of the fellow people going through the course together that we're able to practice these skills with that's safe.
Right.
So in that I'm going to be encouraging people to reach out to individuals during this 3-week and move their success forward through relationships. We'll be able to cut our teeth inside the tribe, inside the group of individuals that matter to us, first and foremost, which I really appreciate that Mindvalley recognizes that.
And one of the things we found is that the best way to transform an individual is not to give you an 8-hour program, but to give you 5 to 20 minutes a day over 3 to 4 weeks. In this case, it's 3 weeks. And every day we're building up new behaviors, new habits, new ideas in your head. And that slow build-up creates a more permanent change. At the end of 3 weeks, you are a different person with a new skill set, and you are a master networker. And this is why our programs get such good results.
And what I love about it is everyone is going to focus on an action.
Right.
At the end of every day, I'm going to give you very specific things that you need to do to begin to transform the relationships in your life, just as I do with large organizations. And then you'll have the team, the tribe, which I've recognized transforming, massively transforming organizations and transforming the world around us starts with a small tribe, deeply committed.
So let's do a quick product tour so you get an idea of what exactly you're going to have access to when you join this program on Mindvalley's Quest platform. So Mindvalley Quest is the most advanced learning platform in the world right now. It's used by over 100 major corporations, by schools, by universities, by government organizations. Because the beauty, the elegance, the way programs are covered, we're able to create 5 times the completion rate of traditional courses. And this is a quick tour of what happens when you access this program. So everything is going to be available for you. You can see the class starts on a specific date, and we do this because we want all students starting together. Let's jump to the one of the warm-up videos. This is Intro 2. Again, pay attention to the quality of filmmaking, the quality of the visuals, the sheer attention to detail. And keep in mind that this is going to be available not just on your desktop, but on Apple TV, on your Android phone, on Google Play, or on your iPhone. You can jump to different sections of the video. And note that the entire video here is only about 7 minutes. It is Each episode is 5 to 20 minutes every day. This is called micro slice learning. So you're tuning in for no more than 20 minutes every day. And at the end of 3 weeks, you have become and unlocked your master networking skills. Let's go a little bit further, okay? Let's show you a little bit more of what you're going to get. Now, the other thing is, as a thank you for enrolling right now in this masterclass, we're also going to give you a special bonus. Given that this is Keith's first ever launch of this program on Mindvalley, we're doing something a little bit special for you guys. There's going to be 2 bonus live calls with Keith, and I know you guys are going to love this. And remember, this is only for this broadcast. So if you enroll anytime later, anytime beyond this week, you are not eligible for the bonus calls because they are starting and happening on specific dates soon for our first ever batch of students joining. The next thing is that when you join this program, everyone is going to be connected in our new online community. It will be on Mindvalley. And automatically, you will be in touch with all our other students. We have thousands of students joining at the same time. As you scroll down the page below this video, you will see that there are 2 ways to join. You can enroll in just this program, or you can get Mindvalley All Access. Mindvalley All Access is amazing. You don't just get Keith's program, but you get all Mindvalley programs instantly unlocked for you. It is $5.99 a year. And after ordering on the next page, you can choose to upgrade to Mindvalley All Access, or you can just immediately get this as part of All Access. I strongly recommend All Access because it is so much, you'll be saving so much. So I cannot wait to see you in Mastering Authentic Networking. Now here's how you enroll. First, know that directly below this video, you will see a special unlock price. We provide this unlock price as a thank you for watching the masterclass. Do not close this page because the unlock price is only available here. And know that you are protected. What this means is you can enroll in this program, and anytime in the next 15 days, you can simply go to mindvalley.com/refund and issue yourself a refund. And our refund process is super easy. That's literally what the page looks like. It takes 2 minutes. You don't have to send an email. You don't have to make a phone call. You literally issue yourself a refund and you can get a full refund on your money. If you don't so much as like the audio quality that you experience, note that not only are you protected with a 15-day guarantee, but you get lifetime access to this program. Rewatch it as many times as you want. You also get free upgrades. And as a thank you for watching the masterclass, you are getting a limited time enrollment discount. And know that you are safe. You do not have to even make up your mind right now. Think about it this way. If you were buying a house, you definitely wouldn't buy a house without going in and checking out the house. What I'm asking is that since you committed to getting this far, go check out the program. Enroll, check it out, go into the program, check out the videos, watch and see how it transforms your thinking and your life. And at any point in the next 15 days, if this isn't for you, go to mindvalley.com/refund and give yourself a refund quick and easy in no more than 2 minutes. So I cannot wait to see you in the program. And of course, when you join the program, we'll email you a welcome guide. It'll be online, and the guide will step by step show you exactly how to access your content, how to download the app, how to log in. It's a beautiful experience and you'll be taken care of completely. Some of you may want to get this program for your business or your startup. If you want to enroll in this as a team, just email betterteams@mindvalley.com and our enterprise education specialist will be with you shortly. Now, back to Keith.
Now, as you're doing that, Keith, let's talk about some of the biggest questions that people ask when they consider enrolling in this program. One question I have for you is, I'm not an entrepreneur, I work for a company. Will this still benefit me?
I think that there are 3 audiences as I design the course that are most important. One is career. So if you work for an organization, big or small, advancing your career through that will be quite important. I often happen to say, though, that recognize I'm working with executives and as leaders as well. And I sometimes find that those executives and leaders also need some of these important relationships, because networking is one thing, but today we're showing up and every day we work in networks. The same principles apply to how we work and how we get things done as how we create opportunities for ourselves. I also know that your traditional audience at Mindvalley is an audience of entrepreneurs and coaches and spiritual leaders and yoga instructors and all these wonderful people that are doing really intentional work, artists, etc. And I want to make sure that we serve them well, so that I really designed this so that individuals running their own businesses in some way, whether they're mission-driven or however they're focused, can really advance the success of their business during this. And I also sat back and reflected that this could also just be somebody who you really want more people in your life. You want to have a richer network of individuals who are joyful and happy and surrounding you. So I felt as we were going through this, we also designed it for those individuals as well.
Beautiful. Now, the second question that I think some people might be wondering what if I'm shy or an introvert? Will this still work for me?
Well, people don't believe it, but I'm actually an introvert. I have utilized these very practices, mindsets, and skill sets to become a learned extrovert, become an individual who has shown up and understood that my network is equally as important as my dreams and goals. So what I would say is I have a lot of empathy for the fact, but if you are an introvert, you cannot use it as an excuse not to develop your network. Your network is your lifeblood. And you don't deserve to be mediocre. You deserve to have all the greatness that you see other people having through their network. You deserve it too. And this systematic way of approaching it is the best path for you to begin to approach it with safety and with small bites.
I see. Third question, what if I'm already good at this? I already know a lot of people. I already am busy enough. Will this still be useful to me?
You're not as good as me.
I like that honesty. You're very, very, very right. So you are definitely the best I've seen at this. So in summary, what I'm really excited about in terms of this program is the deep connection part. You know, networking is great. I meet so many people. But what I really care about, and what I think some of you might find fascinating, is that it's not just about networking, it's about deep, rich connections. And these connections are not just about growing your career. Often we meet our next best friends. I have met many of my closest friends in the world, people I've traveled with, men who have become confidants and advisors and almost like brothers by being able to go deep with them. And you never have enough of those type of people in your life.
I wish I had awoken to that earlier in my life. If you read Never Eat Alone, it's clearly written by a young man who is afraid of not being successful. And I was desperate to make sure that I no longer experienced the poverty of my life. And I applied these tactics and principles. And it's a lot. There's no question. It's a lot. I wake up today having achieved a great deal, but also in my own spiritual journey and own introspection, I have recognized that if I had looked back and I had spent more of my time developing my network purely for joy, right? So this really does apply not just for the advancement. Now, the benefit is this, that the people that I develop my network with for professional success have been my best friends and are my best friends, and I do have joy. But that said, I wish I had spent just a little bit more time, curating just the joy network, just that friends network in and of itself, right? And I feel very strongly that the courses we've designed it will be great for both.
Beautiful. And many of you might find your best friends in the tribe that's about to be taking this program together. So I cannot wait to get started. I'm so looking forward to this program. It's been a dream to have you on Mindvalley, and I'm so excited to see thousands of you enrolling in this program. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.